Right now, we're recording this on January 21st, just to date ourselves, but we're pretty much halfway through the Prem season, a few games over halfway. And I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on how the season might play out from here on out. We all have like a view on the table now, and we're going to just do some predictions for the end of the season. So we're each going to do our top six, and you can't really talk about the Prem without talking about Man United. So we're also going to predict whether or not Man U are going to finish top half. But let's start with our top six predictions for each of us. I don't know if you want to just go everyone drop their six, or we want to go 6-1, or I think maybe 6-1 would be fun to do. I don't know if you guys have a list, but I can start as well if you guys want me to.
I do not have a list.
Yeah,
I do think. Well, nah, you go.
Yeah, no. I don't think it has to be. You also don't necessarily have to put it in order, but I think
we could go 6-1 though. Like
6-1, I think would be fine.
Yeah,
and we each go around and just say a six. Obviously, I know we're all following to different extents, so it doesn't matter. Predictions are never right anyway.
Yeah.
So it'll just be fun to look back on it at the end of the season and see who was the closest.
Yeah.
But I'll start though, because I did actually just get like a rough idea, even though I was debating with myself as well.
Yeah.
For who would finish where, especially based on current form, and I think too, because we're recording this before the end of the January transfer window, things can change a lot in the next 2 weeks.
They won't for Man U, but yeah.
You never know. But I think when we record an episode in a few weeks, based on any transfers that happen, we'll give ourselves some leeway to go back and do some revisions maybe. But based on right now, for six, I'm just going to say I have Bournemouth in six.
All right.
Just to give a little, we don't have to say too much on each, but I just like the form they're in. They don't lose too many games. And I just think they don't have any crazy stars. I think Kirkes is amazing, but like they don't have any crazy stars, but I think overall they're a well-coached team. And I was debating between them and Newcastle, but Newcastle just seemed more streaky to me. So I'm going to put Bournemouth in six personally, but either of you have an idea who you think would be six.
I have a different idea. I actually think Aston Villa is going to move up to sixth. Mainly because of their recent performance. I believe it was against Arsenal, where just every time I watch them, mainly it's their forwards, Watkins and Duran, they just every time seem to be killing the other team. And I feel like with their performances alone, there's potential to move up there. And Bournemouth, albeit I've seen less of their games this season, so can't speak to them as much. But I'm firmly Aston Villa in sixth.
Aston Villa six. Okay, yeah. Interesting. So do you think they're jumping Bournemouth and Newcastle?
I think. Well,
we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't know, Eric. I know obviously, you said before that you following only here and there, but I think even then, because this is so volatile, it'll be funny if your predictions end up being the most correct. So if you want to just throw out who you think might end up six, just based on the current table.
I'm gonna just say Newcastle's gonna stay put, man. I have not watched I've watched maybe 2 Premier League matches this season. They, looked like they had a 4-game winning streak leading into this last week. So they did face a loss, I see. But I see that they're in the running, man, and they're within striking distance of Chelsea. They're just 2 points off. And I've always been a fan of Newcastle. I don't know why. Like, my main team is Man U as well. It's probably why I'm not watching, is because whenever my team isn't succeeding, I just tune out the entire league. But yeah, I'm just saying Newcastle's gonna stay put, man. I have nothing.
Man, shout out to Newcastle, man. I'm pretty sure they were the team in that movie Goal from back in the day.
Yes, bro.
I always had a soft spot just because of that.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah, I like Newcastle too. Isak, lead them in the line in my fantasy.
Isak going crazy. I'm surprised if he'll stay there by the end of the season.
Yeah, I know Arsenal are feeding for him. I think he's going to be the next Henry, but we'll see about that. Okay, well, interesting. I have Bournemouth, Alexi, Aston Villa. Eric, you have Newcastle staying put. and I'll make sure we keep track of these. So end of the season, we can come back to these as well. But fifth place, this may be blasphemous because just to let the viewers know, I am a Chelsea fan, but I have Chelsea in fifth.
Really?
Which would suck. I really do want us to finish top four, but I honestly think where we are now, based on where we thought we'd be coming into the season, this is a bit of an overperformance. And I think the last few weeks we've struggled, and I think that's kind of us regressing to the mean. Hopefully that's our weak patch and we go on a run here. But I think we're going to be more of a push and pull team till the end of the season. And I think another team that I have higher up is going to go on more of a run, which is going to keep us out. But I still think fifth would be good for us based on where we were last season and coming into this season. So I'll take a fifth place for Chelsea. But what do you think, Alexi?
Yeah, for me, I actually think Newcastle is going to move up to fifth, mainly because what you were saying before of Isak, he's just going crazy. Their performances have been good. I say this with the assumption that Man City will move down to seventh. I say that as a hater and wishing all ill will upon them. So I don't see them in the top six. Realistically, I don't know, but in my heart, they're not top six for me. Newcastle number 5.
Gotcha. And you, Eric?
I'm also gonna say Chelsea's gonna slide down to 5. Like I said, I've not been super tuned into the season, but from the little bit that I have seen, they haven't played super convincingly, and I think just the way things unfold, like I'm not sure if a team who, like you said, did not have high expectations for the season, and I don't think has been playing super convincingly. I don't see them at finishing top 4, so I have them sliding back to 5th.
Okay, interesting. Some overlap here. This will be interesting because there's some teams I can already tell that we don't have, like some you might have in that I don't have in at all, or I might have in you guys don't have in at all. So I think this season especially is one of the more competitive seasons in recent memory. So
mid-table is really interesting.
There's all the teams up till like 10th or 9th, or like they're all really battling for that top 6. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, moving on to 4th, I actually have Nottingham Forest drop into 4th. But even then, obviously some people had Forest as relegation candidates before the season, so them finishing even anywhere near 4th is a crazy overperformance. So shout outs to them. They're doing crazy work this season. But I just think they're great at not losing games, and they have great defense, probably the best keeper in the league this season, or at least top 2 with Sells, and the defense overall is just cooking. I just think they're due to have a little bit of slippage here and there by the end of the season. People said that would happen by now, and it still hasn't, so maybe they're just going to keep cooking. But I think it'll be realistic if they slip a little bit. So I had them to 4th, but that's still amazing for them.
I have to disagree with you there. I think Chelsea are going to stay in 4th. I know you had them sliding down, but I think based off what I've seen, simply the performances of Cole Palmer, easily best striker in the league still, I think they're going to be able to hold that top 4 spot.
Gotcha.
Cool, man. Well, just before I even give my prediction, I know I did have questions about Nottingham Forest. I know you mentioned they have a keeper. What else has made their season so successful, would you say?
Chris Wood is up to no good, man. They have the striker who was like
Chris Wood.
He's on the older side.
Let me see.
I'm not sure how old he is. Let me see. He's 33 already, which is wild. But he is just cooking this season. He's absolutely cooking.
Yeah.
And just overall, their team, I don't know what the big change was from last season, because the last few seasons they've just been buying a ton of players. But this season, they just put it all together. Their defense is really strong. I think that's like the main point. But they also have some players, which is why it's a good story. They have a lot of players that struggled at other big teams. Like I think they have Alanga, who was on Man U before, They also have Hudson Odoi, who's a former Chelsea player, and just players like that who like really struggled at bigger quote unquote teams, and they're cooking. They're cooking as a good unit, and obviously Chris Wood, probably the most informed striker across the entire season. I think Holland's probably still scored more, and Isak recently has been on crazy form, but I think Chris Wood has been consistent like the entire season. So those are like the main reasons I'd say they're cooking, but they're just really well coached, I think.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool. I'm always all for a small team making it far. I remember that. I just get reminded again. Not a big Premier League guy, but I remember that season with Leicester with Jamie Vardy.
Yep.
Them going far. So you saying like an older striker carrying the load, like that's what I'm thinking of. So, you know, I originally had them in a different slot, but for the fourth slot, I'm actually gonna say I originally had Nottingham at the fourth slot, but you know, with that, I just do hope and wish the best for them. So let's say Arsenal slides back to the four.
Ooh, interesting. Arsenal. Okay, that's a big one.
I wouldn't be too
That'd be a big
surprised,
drop.
honestly.
It's very interesting if they fall to fourth. I think their fans. Well, actually, I'll transition this because I'm going into my third, and I actually have Arsenal dropping to third. So I'll just give some reasons for that anyway. I think, well, one, their fan base, I think, would be quite annoyed if they somehow fell to third, because I think their fans thought this would be the season that they really have a good shot at winning the
They
title.
thought that for a few years now.
Yeah, to be fair, but then we had to deal with Invincible City for the last few years, and I think they thought if they had known that City would be where they are now coming into the season, they would think, okay, Arsenal is by far probably the favorite to win the league, especially with like Liverpool having a new manager coming into the season. But Arsenal 6 points behind Liverpool, and Liverpool have a game in hand, which is crazy. I think they've been unlucky. They had the Odegaard injury early this year, and then obviously Saka's out now. But you know, them's the breaks, bro. The game's a game, and I think it's Saka's still not coming back for a little while. And they just slip up at weird spots. So I don't see them. I definitely don't see them winning the league at this point. If they do, fair play. But I actually have another team catching up and passing them. So,
Yeah.
What do you think, Alexa?
I agree. I think Arsenal is going to be number 3. I say that mainly because of their performances, their inconsistencies as per usual. And you look at their game versus Man U recently, where they lost to Pens. And Arsenal, the team you expect to win the league if you're an Arsenal fan, losing to a 10-man Man U, arguably one of the worst Man United teams of the past 30 years, probably ever. I mean, there's no justification for that. So I can only see them fumbling opportunities. I can't see this being a title-winning season for them.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. And before you give your next team as well, just I think the main thing with them too is they struggle to score if it's not from a set piece.
Yep.
Or like from Saka creating some crazy magic. And obviously he's out, so they're really like.
And I have to give credit to
started
Odegaard. I have to give credit to him.
Well, yeah,
He's been putting in
he's
crazy work, and
but he just doesn't. He can put it on a platter all day long, but like
Havertz can't finish it.
That guy, he's not that guy. I'm glad we robbed them. Let me put it that way. But yeah, Eric, I don't know what you're thinking for your where are we on your number 3 team?
Yeah, number 3. I'm gonna say, man, Man City's gonna come in and take the number 3 slot, man. I know they've had a very tumultuous season. I've seen the clips of Pep Guardiola like addressing the media, addressing the fans, and I know as a Man U fan, I'm supposed to hate them, but Pep Guardiola. I'm also a Barcelona fan at heart. Grew up a Messi fan. Grew up watching that Rafa Marquez team in Barcelona, so like all the big ones and all the big players from Spain as well. So Pep Guardiola does hold a soft spot in my heart, and I think he's gonna find a way to crack the top 3. So I'm gonna say Man City at 3.
Interesting. That's funny you said that because I agree. and I have them going even further. I think Man City are going to finish second,
Really?
which is kind of crazy. That's probably my big like out there shout for the end of the season because they're currently in fifth and they're 2 points behind Chelsea at fourth. But based on, maybe we'll see in 2 weeks when the transfer window is over, but based on their signings so far, they've been the most active team out of these top teams. And obviously they have oil money and they've been doing well.
9.5 year deal for Holland.
Yeah, I think honestly that's one of the biggest signings that any team can make right now. That's actually a wild signing to have for the next 10 years. Because I think a lot of people would have thought Holland would moved on to like Spain.
I 100% thought he was going to Spain next year.
Yeah, but I guess to be fair, his father played for City. I guess he's a big City fan, so they have his loyalty. But yeah, even they brought in Omar Marmoush from Frankfurt, who's like, he's lighting up the Bundesliga this year. You guys should go watch some of his highlights. He's actually cooking.
Yeah.
And I want to say I signed him on career, but before City signed him, I was on him.
You were on it. You were on it.
But yeah, I think they signed like a center back too, because their defense has been cooked this season. So I just think they've shown ambition. And I think it's maybe too late. They've fallen too far to like really push to win the league. But I think they can make a solid push for second. And I just think it'll be funny because if they somehow finish above Arsenal again, the Arsenal fans are going to go crazy. So
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, that's my prediction. City finish second.
While I heavily disagree, and my next point is based purely on heavy copium, I think Liverpool are going to go number 2. I see this, just to give my number 1 now, I guess. I see this being the Leicester season, Nottingham Forest going all the way.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
I think being only 6 points behind, I think it's a very feasible. Sure, Liverpool, they got a game in hand, but I think it's very feasible that Liverpool can slip up. I believe Salah had a bit of a scoring drought for past couple games. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, he was going crazy at the start of the season. Halfway through, though, you know, things are slowing down. So, you know, if things stick that way, if an injury possibly comes their way to their team, not wishing that, but low-key, then I could see them slipping up, being number 2.
Interesting. Okay, what do you think, Eric?
Actually, I have the miracle season ending at the two slot, so I have Nottingham finishing number 2. I know I said I wanted like a storybook ending, but I don't know, man. I've been seeing Liverpool, like I'm seeing they just have 1 loss on the season so far, only 5 drawn, rest of 1. Like that to me just screams like dominance. So I just think it's gonna stay that way.
Yeah, fair. And I guess that tees up. I also have Liverpool finishing first. I like that we have someone who doesn't have Liverpool finishing first. That'll be interesting.
I'm a Man U fan. I can't do that.
Yeah. Literally, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy if you had him first. But yeah, I think based on the season so far, I do think the second half of the season they'll be a little weaker than the first half. I think Salah, you know, he posted that Christmas photo. That curse is too real.
That's true.
But I just think they have too much firepower.
Can you explain that?
Salah has like, I think it was a few years ago. I don't remember the exact lore, but like he posted like this Christmas photo where
literally just his family in front of a tree.
Yeah,
right?
In front of a tree. Yeah, and then like the back half of the season, he was just washed, and then like there's like this stigma around it.
Interesting.
You said what?
I said this does sound familiar. Like I do feel like I've heard about it.
And everyone was like leading up to this Christmas because first half of the season, he was, I would say, the best player in the world in the first half of the season. Like I would have him, definitely on the Ballon d'Or podium, and I'd have him winning it if it's just based on the first half of the season. But everyone was saying, bro, do not post the photo. And Christmas came, he posted a photo with his family in front of the tree, and ever since then, not that he's been terrible, but he definitely has been on a bit of a dip from the first half of the season. But to be fair, first half was crazy. But yeah, because they're so far ahead, obviously it's only 2 games in theory, but like I don't see them losing that many more games. And the game in hand, that low key, I will say, the game in hand is against Everton, who are like their big rivals, Merseyside derby, and it's going to be the last game at Goodison Park, which is Everton's home ground.
Oh, really?
So that low key, that could be like a little banana peel for them. That something could go wrong there, but I still think overall, they're too well coached, and there's too much firepower. They still have Van Dijk, best center back in the league. Trent, he's gonna be sweating to win the league with Liverpool before he goes to Madrid. So,
If he goes to Madrid, bro, after that Man U performance.
Yeah, okay. but yeah, I still got him winning it. But if somehow Forest pull it off, like you're predicting, Alexi, that would be crazy.
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
I'm saying this purely based off of Cope. They got a Greek owner, so represent. Sure, he has had suspicions of, some mischievous stuff in the Greek league, but we don't got to worry about that. Yeah, I think this is their season. Huh?
Like money stuff?
Like paying referees, like some dealing of the drugs with his shipping company.
I was gonna say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Blanket.
He was acquitted of all charges. So.
Okay, fair. Yeah, less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
You
didn't hear it from me.
Interesting. Yeah, we didn't read it. That's not some RTN allegations.
No.
Okay, so those are our top 6. You guys can hold us to that. Although we do reserve the right, like I said, end of the transfer window. If there's any big changes in any of these teams, if Arsenal get an actual striker that's not Havertz, then maybe things could change. And we'll do a little revision then. But as of right now, you can hold us to these predictions.